there's a lot of talk in the New Age about we don't know who we really are. Who do you think you really are? And how does one find out who they really are?
The way that I view it is that we have the false self or the egoic self or the identity that our mind's created. So that would be in this case, I am Aria, I am a psychologist, I'm 41, and this is what I can do and this is what I can't do. That's an idea that's been constructed by the mind. Then there's the true self, which is essentially consciousness. Descartes said, I think, therefore I am, but it's the opposite way around. I am, and then the mind will think.
Going back to just this idea that, so coming back to what you said, don't lose your center when you're in a relationship. We hear, so many stories of people losing themselves in relationships. And if you are in a difficult relationship, how do you suggest that people resolve this, the conflict, like for married couples and so forth? Like, what is the sort of, for people who can't resolve their issues, do they go back to this, like, I'm okay by myself? Or how does that, where's the pull and push of that? Let me rephrase that, wasn't well put. So you just mentioned that we just dove into this idea that we are, infinite source behind the ego. How does that play into relationships? Because, of course, if we all understand that we are divine, infinite beings, we don't need anyone else, potentially. So how does that figure into your understanding?
One part would be there is love and there is a relationship. So if love is source, is consciousness, love is unconditional.
Yeah.
A relationship, though, has conditions. So whenever I enter a relationship, there are certain criteria that it's predicated upon. One condition would be that in my relationship, it's monogamous and we are faithful to each other, and that is exemplified in different ways from the physical to the emotional. So love is unconditional, but a relationship has conditions. In order to make a relationship work, both people need to have the idea of the same type of structure. And we need to find our way through those times whenever the relationship is being challenged. The very fabric of the relationship is suffering because the conditions that you have are either not being met, or they're being transgressed, or they're being overlooked, and vice versa for you and your partner. So I used to have this belief that because my feelings are my responsibility, which I still stand by, I used to think that meant I had to deal with them on my own. But what I've come to realize is that relational hurt requires relational repair. It's only through the relationship often that we can reach that sense of reconciliation and reconnection and rebuilding in the same direction. So it involves always at its core being as open and honest as we can. The parts that we often maybe share with someone else or don't share with anyone because we're afraid of either hurting the other person or being judged or being abandoned, those are the parts often that we need to share.
Because a lot of the time you think, I don't want to tell my partner because it might offend them, it might hurt them.
Completely.
You talk about this, that those little micro moments or feelings will compound.
Completely. And that's what happened in my marriage. There were all these little moments, and I thought I was letting go of the feeling, but frustration or hurt, unless it's been relationally, released and repaired, it just hardens into resentment and it begins to build, and that will block the connection between the two of you until one day you can wake up and there's just no sense of connection, and you even forget why, or forget the feeling of connection that you had before. And that's, one of the hardest parts. So to go back to your question, I think it involves radical honesty with yourself and with your partner. And of course, there's a whole other question of how do you communicate, but definitely being as open and honest with yourself and your partner as you can.